What's up, everybody? It is Joe G with the new 8-Bit Heroes. Just wanted to do one of these. I haven't done one of these in a while. A little just video behind the scenes sort of update with the tool. I wanted to show you guys some of the changes that we've been working on very hard when it comes to the tool. Most of you guys have seen this. This is Mystic Origins. This is actually the data file for Mystic Origins. Give me a second. Let me get there. This is in here, saved states. This is the last one. And right now it's loading the Mystic Origins stuff. If you guys have been playing that, if you haven't, you can go online to www.thenew8bitheroes.com and follow the links, or beta.thenew8bitheroes.com will download it straight to your computer. This is that version of the tool and that game. So if I look at the overworld, this is the overworld that some of you guys got used to seeing, and this is these underworld screens that you guys got used to seeing. And if you haven't seen that, go ahead and play it. This is a test screen that I just mess around with, and this one too. I wanted to show you some of the changes that we made. So our engine, and this is kind of fun because I can actually show you guys a little bit of behind the scenes. I can get into the engine data, I can get into routines. Actually, no, I'm not even going to show you that. That's just a little too crazy to show. Let me show you collision tables, okay? So I'm going to grab, this is hex value 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, so 61, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 67. So if I go to, that's in hex value. If I go to screen 60, why am I? Here we go, 67. This is the actual data. I'll close the rest of this stuff, actually. Sorry. Okay, so this is how we were doing our collision tables for the beta. You can see we've got some data up here. This is the actual collision data for the screen, and the bytes at the bottom are all of the data. Now, there isn't quite 256 bytes here. I think it's 240 or real close to it. And the reason we sort of arrived at that number was if we look at, okay, this is the game. This is called the NES Space Checker. These tools have been invaluable to us. The people from the community have made these. I can check each bank to see the space that it takes up. And it's really hard to see, I'm sure, but you can kind of see these green dots, dot, 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 and they go all the way to the bottom. What we found out is we wanted to reserve all of these banks for screen data, all of these banks. And for our game, we have the first 8 for Overworld and the second 8 for Underworld, and we wanted it to be really regimented. We could have actually made this game possibly a lot bigger with a lot more functionality, more music, and more dialogue if we compressed the screen data. For instance, if there was a bunch of solid tiles in a row, we could encode that to say, instead of saying solid tile, solid tile, solid tile, solid tile, solid tile, we could have it say, okay, you're going to count how many solid tiles there are. There's 8 of them, solid tile. So then it only took 3 bytes to say that same information instead of 8. And we could compress a lot like that. The reason that we decided not to do that and not to sort of encode and compress the level data is because we knew this was going to be part of a tool, and we wanted the size of the data that was going to be in the banks as sort of templated as possible. So if we decide to make one screen that's tons of different types of tiles mashed up, we got 64 different types of tiles, we got them all, it would take up the exact same amount of room as a room that's completely plain. Therefore we could plan, okay, 32 screens are going to fit in one bank. And that's how we've actually got 512 game screens. We probably could have gotten even more, or use some of these banks for things like monster graphics or text, but we really wanted to make it versatile so that way when we're building screens we know exactly how many screens we can fit, and we can put anything we want in there and it's not going to matter. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So back to what I was showing you guys. This is sort of how we were doing it. This was originally supposed to be changed tiles for like things that would be like spikes that could come up and come down, but I changed that and I made this data handle how where the monsters were loaded, how the NPCs worked, and that kind of thing instead. And down here you have things like, this is how we snuck in all this data into each screen. So each screen can check what bank it's using, what graphics it's using, what palettes and color set it's using, what NPC it's using, that kind of thing. And what you can see, where is it? Up here, you can see that we have 4 bytes. This tells it what, if I look at my text strings right here, this is all the text strings for the game right here. So this is text string 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, D, E, F, 10, 11, 12, 13, etc., etc. Okay? So this 0F is for what happens if it's non-triggered or it's in danger during the day. This is the text string for if it's danger at night. This is the text string for if it's saved during the day. This is if it's saved during the night. That's great. That was a really cool way to do it. The only problem with that is you'll notice there's only 4 bytes. What if you wanted more NPCs on the screen? Our game can support having up to 3 different NPCs on the screen, but we only had 4 bytes. So what if you had 3 NPCs during the day and 3 different NPCs that said different things at night, and then once you beat the boss, you wanted 3 that said something completely different during the day and then 3 that said something completely different at night? You would need 12 bytes the way that we were doing it in order to handle that. Not only that, but we ran into a big problem when it came to which monsters do we want to load. It's not just a matter of which monsters we want to load, but like, notice our monster count right here. Day was half that byte, night was that, so there's 1 monster during the day, 1 monster at night, which monster group ID during the day and which one at night, which palette during the day, which at night. But that presents a problem because we don't just want day and night. What if you wanted a boss if it was triggered, untriggered, and then the NPC that talks to you when it was triggered, but they had different palettes and they used different banks to load that data. So this, and we just didn't have any bytes. This literally used up all the bytes that we possibly could use. So we had to rethink how we did all this stuff, and we wanted to make it so that all those cases were independent. If you go through and you play this game, what you'll notice is that in some cases you might have multiple NPCs. Like this is actually showing where these NPCs are located. This is actually maybe a better one. NPC, NPC, NPC. That's where they are on the screen. And if I looked at the screen info, you'll notice this is almost doing nothing. All these values are the same because I actually used where it says change tile type. Remember I said we were using the change tile and I substituted that for monster information. This is where I'm setting the text right here. But that works fine, but I can only use those bytes. Those are the bytes that I just closed it. Those are the bytes that are up here. Those are the bytes that are up here, but I only have so many, and these are used for X and Y, and I don't have enough data here to do all the stuff that I wanted as far as what colors they should show, what bank they should pull from, what tile set they use, all that stuff. There just wasn't enough up here. So there's 2 ways that I handled it. One, it could do it the new way or the old way, and the new way was this way, where I would actually say, okay, this guy is at this position, this X and Y value, and it would use this string, and this guy was at this X and Y and use this string, and this guy was at this X and Y, use this string, and so this guy uses string 1, string 2, string 3, whatever. That's the new way, but I also did want to make it so when you activate something, it triggers something, but when we did that, we had only the same amount of bytes, we could only have 1 NPC on the screen. And we couldn't have 3 different people saying different things for all the different states. We couldn't have different monsters on the screen depending if you saved it or didn't save it. So you'll notice that where you have NPCs moving in the beta, you only have them in the day or at night. You never have them mixing. If they do change day and night, like here, during the day there's 2 NPCs here. At night there's not 2 NPCs here. But if you go, oops, sorry, not screen info. If you were to get to see our Bogman guy here, whether it was day or night, this guy would show up and say the same thing. If we have somebody who was saying the same thing at day or night, then I can only have one per screen. This was really limiting as far as the narrative, and I did not want to limit myself like that when we want to tell the story. So we spent a lot of time reconstructing the data, and I want to show you guys sort of the new version of how this works. And hopefully this isn't going over everybody's head too much, but I think this is really neat, and it actually ended up leading to a lot of new ideas. So this is screen tool 2.1.16. Yes. Okay. So now I'll show you collision data, the difference of how we've organized the collision data here. There's nothing on the screen, but you'll notice all this data is gone. It starts right with the collision data. And what the collision data is generally the first bit determines whether or not something's solid, the second bit determines whether or not something's jumpable. These bits all work together. There's 64 possible combinations of numbers there, and that represents what kind of tile it is. You could have a jumpable tile that's also a torch. You could have a jumpable tile that is also one spikes that hurt you, whatever. So if this is a 1, it says, yes, you can jump over this, and this lets you know that it causes you pain, or you can light it with magic or whatever. If this is 0, then you can't jump over it. So if you try and jump over it and it's a hurt tile, you'll still get hurt. Or you can't jump over it, but you can still light it as a torch. So that each one of these represents a 16 by 16 area on the screen. And if I look at the tool, I'm going to go into this a lot more, like when we're actually like pimping the tool later on down the road. Close that so I don't get confused. If we actually look at just a screen, I'm going to load same file. The Mystic Origins file. But if I were to look at the screen, you can see where my mouse is moving. It's showing me, and underneath it tells me what kind of tile I'm actually looking at. So this is, if you look at the top here, normal, solid, normal, solid, normal, solid, shallow water, shallow water, shallow water. This is a magic trigger that's also jumpable. So that means I can light this on fire and it's also jumpable. This is jumpable, but only jumpable. So you can kind of see how this works here. So the first thing we did was we got rid of that, and we actually integrated a lot of that stuff down, the stuff that was at the top down here. We no longer have change tiles the same way that we did. We're still going to have them. They're just going to be done differently. We needed a lot of bytes in order to do the thing we wanted, and we ended up combining a lot of bytes, and I did a whole blog about that before. You can see how this combines a lot of different things together, and this actually gives us 4 64-bit values instead of 3, and it's broken up this way: A's, B's, C's, D's, and then in the engine it actually does the math and puts them in the right place and gets the data for what monster group. If it's A, it's day normal. If it's B, it's night normal. If it's C, it's day trigger. If it's D, it's night trigger. So this value, if it was 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. If it was daytime, it would be looking at this number right here, and it would do it. The number would end up being 1. If this ended up being, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0, it would read, and we were at night, it would read the last 2 values of this right here, 0, 0, and the first 4 values of this. So that would end up being 0, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. You don't have to know any of this stuff. I just thought some of you guys would be interested in seeing how we were able to compress bytes down to get more data out of this. What I really want to show you is the effect that this has and what we can now do with it. So real quick, We'll look at this. This is just the intro screen right here. When I right click, forget these, we just haven't gotten rid of these pink rectangles, so forget they even exist, they don't mean anything anymore. When I right click anywhere on the screen, I can start placing monsters. So on this screen, I can place a monster right there, place monster number 1. I can place monster number 2 over here, and I can place monster number 3 over here. And when I place them, it's actually putting them in this order. When they are placed, they're in that order. So if I were to play the game now, it's going to go ahead and compile that new data that I just did. And I could test it. And you can see the characters all started right where I told them to in the tool, and they match up over here. So that took care of one thing, being able to place the monsters different X and Y values. I can reset all placements. The thing that's neat is I can actually go into their placement details, and now I've got some cool stuff that I can do with these monsters. This didn't exist before in the tool. I can say that I want to place these guys random. So now these guys will be placed randomly throughout the level. There's 3 of them. I'm going to explain what some of these other things do in a second. Export and test. So now they won't show up in those 3 places that I had them before, and it's going to be really hard to check against that. But if you scrub back in the video, you'll see now they start in different places. In fact, those 2 guys started pretty much right on top of each other. If I played it again, they'd be in even different places than that. So I can make them random. When they're random, and this is kind of neat, I can make it so I want this guy to show up in a random place, and I want him to be a random monster. What if I only want it to be guys in green? I don't want it to be guys in blue. I can tell it I only want it to be able to choose 1 or 3 from this group. And they're going to be blue because my palette for the screen is blue, but it's the first monster or the third monster and not the second and the fourth. So if I just wanted to see, I don't know why I do this, but if I just wanted to see green monsters, I could do that, and I could test. And that, they'll all be blue, but it'll be this guy, this little, not the old guy in the row, but this little sort of forest guy. And you'll see they'll be randomly created around the room. There we go. And I'm going to show you how that can come into play in a minute. Other thing that's kind of neat is I can make it all of them. I don't have something that counts. I don't have a byte that I use for counting monsters, day, night, saved, or save night. Instead, it literally counts this data right here. So if I disable these guys, it's only going to count 1 monster. And I can tell it I want them to appear randomly, and I only want them to be the guy in the cloak. So now, if I test that, there'll be 1 guy in the cloak appearing randomly. No matter when I play the game, it'll only ever produce that 1 character. And you can see, old guy in the blue cloak. So this is super powerful as far as what we can do, and I'm going to show you some examples as to why in a second. Let me show you edge. Let's say I want to make these guys edges, and I can do the same thing. I'm just gonna make it all 4. So we've got really random guy, random thing. When I have edge selected, they actually start off screen. So now, and this is, I think, much more for monsters and to make a bigger world, you might have seen that we had some screens where they respawned, but they were always present on the screen to begin with if they were going to be there. Now we've developed a way where they're not on the screen, and if we just kind of hang out for a minute, they'll start spawning, and they'll start spawning from the top because it's the only place where they can spawn from. And they're spawning at random, so you might get old guys, you might get young guys, whatever. So that's pretty cool. It really opens up what we can do. But what's even nicer is that's what goes on during the day. At night, I can do totally different settings. So now, if I look, you can see I'm looking at night normal, and there's nothing here because I haven't set that up yet. So I don't even have monsters for night, and I also have day triggered and night triggered. And we're going to make it so it changes to the different palette, but right now we can just do it manually. Anyway, so we can have different monsters on the screen with different palettes for the day, for the night, if you triggered or if you untriggered, and they can all say different things if you have enough text strings. So I'm going to show you how we managed to do that with text strings. I'm going to just make a few new text strings. I'm going to remember 64. I'm just going to call it day 1. I'm going to call it day. He's going to say, I'm day 1 guy. Day 2. I'm day 2 guy. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of punctuation to use. We just don't have enough graphics. Day 3. I'm day 3 guy. And you know what? I'm going to make night ones too. So, oops, I should say day, not day, sorry. So 67 is going to be night 1. I'm night 1 guy. Night 2. I'm night 2 guy. And night 3. I'm night 3 guy. Okay, so now what I could do is I've got these new text strings built into the game. If I go back into my overworld and I go to my screen here, I'm actually going to place them. I'm going to place this guy here. I'm going to place this guy here. I'm going to place this guy here. So what we should get is day 1, day 2, day 3. I have to go in here and I have to set, oops, not yet. I'm going to make a new text group. So now we have text groups. Group 0, I'll go ahead and just pick an arbitrary one. Group 15. Group 15, I'm going to say screen 1 dudes day. All right. The first guy is going to say what day 1 says. The second one is going to say, oops, what day 2 says. The third one is going to say what day 3 says. And I'm going to make 16. Okay. I'll make group 16. This is be screen 1 dudes night. And this one is going to say night 1. Night 2, night 3. Okay, so now if I go back to my overworld, and during my day I want these guys, and I can go to screen info, and I can say during the day it's going to use screen dudes day, and during the night it's going to use dudes night. Now we haven't set up a trigger yet, so there's no point in doing that. And now I just have to tell it at night I want monsters. And you know, and this is where they get their colors, by the way, not what you see here. This is just a proxy. What you set here is actually what their colors are going to be. So I'm going to choose tiles 5. I'll make it all ladies. And I don't remember which are the women, by the way. Sure, that one works. I just don't remember. It's been a little while since yeah. Okay, great. So at night, these are going to be my monster choices. And we can see there. And I can set them now different. So I'm going to group all the ladies over here. So 1, 2, 3. It's going to be hard to keep track of them by the time I get over there. But so daytime, I'm going to get this. And at nighttime, I'll get that. Okay, so let's just test this out, and what we should see is I'll be able to talk to all of them, and they'll all say different things, whether it's night or day. I think I did the day ones left to right, so this guy should say, I'm day 1 guy, this guy should say, I'm day 2 guy, and this guy will say, I'm day 3 guy. And now I'll just leave the screen for a minute. And I haven't reset these screens, which is why those guys are showing up in weird places. If you've played the beta, you know that's not where those guys show up. Okay, now it's going to night. And 3 ladies. And this I think is 3, night 3, and this is 1, and the other one should be 2 based on where I placed them. So you can see how that works, and you can see they're different colors than the day guys. They're using a different tile set than the day guys. They have different strings than the day guys. And it's not just that, but they could be totally different monsters. They could have totally different behaviors. You got monsters during the day and NPCs at night, or vice versa, whatever. So just some fun things that we can then do. I'm going to develop this screen a little bit more. I'm going to make during the day. I'm going to place monster 1 right here, and then I'm going to disable the other 2. That's why that wasn't set. So that's why it was doing that. So during the day, I'll see this guy here, but at night, instead, let's do this. At night, I'm going to not use the samurai at all. I'm going to make a new group. What I used to have to do with groups, with monster groups, is that I'd have to make all, like if I wanted one of all bugs, right, I would have to, like all red snails, I'd have to use a red snail for each one, and it's kind of wasteful. Watch what I could do now. This is kind of fun. I'm going to say overworld monsters. And I'm going to use a red bug and a yellow bug and a bull monster and a hode. Now, I'll actually use a snail so you can really tell the difference. The problem with these monsters is, don't forget, these colors are not aligned with the object. The NES doesn't have that ability. It's only got a limited number of colors it can show at one time. So these are suggested colors, and then you actually pick the colors in the room. I'm going to save that. And I'm going to go to my overworld, and in that second screen there, I'm going to go to night, and I'm going to use that new, forget this because this doesn't even exist anymore. I'm going to use, you might hear a baby in the background, he's getting cranky. So now I have these, and you can see it's some of them use this one and some of them use the other one. Looks like they all use this top color scheme. So just to make it a little bit, all these are going to be pretty bad, right? Oh, that's not too bad. And the snail, I can use, well, I'll make him a red snail. Okay, just for a little diversity. Now you can see I've got 4 different types of monsters. Let's say I only want the bug to be there, though. I can still use this whole like wildlife group, because I can say that at night, make them have three. Let's say we only want 2 monsters on the screen, and the only monster I want it to be able to be is the snail. Okay, so I will take away the other choices. It's only going to load what's in this slot, and now I'll always get 2 snails randomly placed on the screen. So at night, if I test this, you'll see I only get the 2 snails randomly placed on the screen. So during the day, I'll have the samurai. And I think he'll just say, if you need, looking for advice, because I never set his group, so I'll wait till it's dusk. Okay, I got ladies back over here, and 2 of those snails, right? If I go off, they'll be in different places, because I never set their position, all right? Different places. Okay, awesome. So that's cool. But it's not quite what I wanted to do. I really would love to make an NPC and show you how far, but I don't know if I want to take up that much time. What I'll do is, I don't know, these monsters, oops, shoot. These monsters have a pet that they keep right here. So I want a yellow bug to be over here. I'm going to place monster 1 right there. When I place a monster, it's always going to be 1, 2, or 3. So if you're doing placed, you want to use those first 3. If I place monster 2, it's always going to be Monster 2. If I place Monster 3, it's always going to be Monster 3. But let's just reset all placements. I'm going to have Monster 1 as their pet. He's running around over here. And Monster 2, I'm going to have be his keeper. Oops, no, I don't want that. Sorry. I'm going to have Monster 2 be random, and his keeper is always going to be the Hode, this guy right here. Whereas there's going to be, actually, I'll just make it random. Randomly, any one of these except for the Hode, any one of these three will come from the edges as like guards that are walking around. So now I've actually got a monster that's always stays in one place, one that randomly spawns on the screen but is always one certain type of monster, and one that comes from the edge at random and sort of feels like a bigger world and there's just wildlife running around. Hit OK, and that's only going to happen at night. So it feels like they've got this corral with this bug monster. Now that could be an NPC. Maybe they've got somebody imprisoned, and you have to beat the main boss before that person is no longer imprisoned. So if I go during the day, it's going to be that samurai-looking guy. Okay, it's going to change to dusk. Go off the screen, come back, and here we go. Randomly placed. This guy was placed, and we have monsters randomly coming off the edge of the screen. Now, if I kill that monster, it'll be a different monster that comes to the edge of the screen. And they'll be random. Maybe they'll come from the bottom. Maybe they'll come from the top. And it could be any of those three types of monsters. And we just saw all three of them pop up from different places. And also, if I happen to kill this guy, we'll they'll keep spawning from the edges until we have three monsters, because three monsters was the max that we were going to have on the screen. Now, if that was an NPC, only one of them would keep respawning. So this is, I mean, this is huge as far as what we can do to make the world feel diverse and to push story. We can have, and again, don't forget, it's not just day or night. It's day, night, day saved, night saved, and we're using that to kind of denote a trigger. Like, but we could also use it like this. When you beat a level, the monsters get harder in an area. So when it's day or night, it's a little hard, a little harder, and then once you've done a thing, a lot harder, really hard at night. You know, and we could kind of do that kind of thing. This is astronomically huge, and it feels really intuitive. It feels really clean to do this this interface right here. Super happy about this. I just wanted you guys to see. With this, again, these modifications take a lot of time to do, but it's taking the time to do this. That it's not just making the tool and making this interface, and then this interface, what it actually does is spits out. Actually, what we can do now, this screen in particular, instead of having to go to the folder and find it and count like I did, I can actually just view latest export, and it actually pulls it up in a text editor. So I can check to make sure everything's working, check the collision data, and then check all this data. Now that, you know, to do this takes a long time to get it to spit this tool, then to spit this data out, and then to change the engine so the engine matches what we want this tool to do when you actually play it takes a long time. But you can see how much this will expand our ability to tell a really cool story on an NES. So I just wanted to take a minute and show you guys that. It's been a while since I did one of these behind the scenes videos. I'm going to be doing a ton of these when we're getting closer to releasing the tool and the game. But I wanted you to see so you knew what we were working on that took so long and why it has to be done in order to make the game the way that we want to make it. So hope you guys enjoyed this. You know, sound off below, share this, you know, let me know what you think. If you're excited about NESMaker as we are to provide it, if it's giving you story ideas for your own games, let us know, tell us about it. We're really curious to hear. So thanks a lot for watching.